So I want to talk about property taxes. Now, you probably don't like property taxes, and I get it. Most comments on the internet say something to the effect of, I don't even own my house. I paid for it and the government still taxes me for it. And so you're not alone if you don't like property taxes, but I think I can convince you by the end of this video that low property taxes are the causes of our housing crisis in the United States today. In places like California, a lot of the Northeast, where property taxes are set too low and cause the prices to go up. The common reasoning for housing being too expensive today from economists is that we don't have enough housing supply. While this is true, the reason that we don't have enough housing supply is often attributed to NIMBYs, which stands for not in my backyard, and they're people who oppose new housing development. They go to their local county or city and say, I don't want this housing here, and get those projects canceled. This does explain some of the pushback to housing, but it doesn't explain all of it, because why are there more people in California who would oppose housing compared to, say, Texas or Florida? I don't think it's just that the people in California are more anti-housing than the people in Florida and Texas. I think there's deeper economic reasons for different places having different amounts of housing. I first started looking into this when I was looking at California's Prop 13, which passed in 1978. This limited property taxes to 1% and limited the amount that a house could be assessed to 2% a year. So if you buy a house, your property taxes won't increase more than 2% per year. After this occurred, California's housing prices have outpaced the rest of the country. If we look at price to income ratio, we can see that California has become less and less affordable since the passage of Prop 13. In 1980, the median home price was about 4.65 times the median income in California. Now it is about 9.5 times the median income in California. So the amount that people have to pay for their house in California is a significantly larger portion of their income. And just to check that this isn't only in California, but actually in every county across the country, I made this chart. So you can see on the left are lower property tax rates, and on the right are higher property tax rates. And on the y-axis, you can see the price to income ratio in that county. So how many years of the median income pays for the median house price in that county? And you can see only counties with a low property tax rate have this dramatically higher price to income ratio. First, before I go forward with the really expensive counties, I do want to clarify one thing about this, is that there are counties that have low property tax rates and aren't super expensive, but these aren't counties that necessarily have a lot of economic drive to them. So if there's a place that, yeah, maybe the houses are cheap, but there's not many amazing jobs there, people aren't as likely to try to go to that place yet, compared to places like California that do have a good economy, but they don't have affordable housing, and it's getting more and more expensive because people want to go there for good jobs and good economic opportunity, but there's not affordable housing there. And we see this trend across different size counties. So just small counties, medium, large, and extra large counties, no matter the population size, you see the same trend. In areas with good economic opportunity and low property taxes, you get very expensive housing. So the actual mechanism that causes these home prices to be lower is that it reduces supply. So when you see economists and stuff saying properties are expensive because of a lack of supply, they're correct, but they're not going that layer deeper to say low property taxes are incentivizing lack of supply. And it does that in two ways. The first is that current homeowners aren't getting any penalty for homes going up in value. If I'm a homeowner and I'm paying 1% a year in property tax and my home goes up $100,000, I pay another $1,000 a year. It's not a significant penalty for me as a homeowner for what I'm receiving. I'm receiving $100,000 in equity and I pay 1% more a year. The second reason, and I believe the main reason that makes Texas and Florida different than California or a lot of the Northeast, is actually that the county councils or city councils themselves have different incentives to say no. So if the property tax rate is too low, your taxes are not properly funding your services. So if you have homes where we build a new house and that house brings in $5,000 of revenue to that county each year, but the average usage of that house for county services such as schools, roads, things like that equates to about $10,000 a year, and you're on council and someone comes to you and says, hey, we want to build these homes, you're incentivized to say no. If you don't believe me, look at the pushback when there's a new housing development proposed in your county or area. A lot of people will go there and say, hey, this is going to bring extra traffic. Hey, this is going to cause our schools to be overcrowded. And what they're really saying is our tax dollars are not paying enough for the services. They might not realize that. They're maybe not looking at the numbers and trying to figure out the math equation here. But at the end of the day, they look at the schools and they look at the classrooms that their kids are in and they're like, there's too many. Or they're teachers and they're saying, hey, I don't get paid enough. There's 40 kids in my class. And if you build more houses, there's going to be more kids and you guys aren't going to have the money to pay for more teachers. And so at the end of the day, it's this equation of income from residents and payment to services that residents use. And your county council is saying, no, this is a bad deal, especially in California where they were forced by the state to have low tax rates. They cannot raise tax rates to meet the demand of these services. This effect was immediately clear when Prop 13 was passed in California. The years passed, the new governor, Jerry Brown, passed a $5 billion bailout for the cities, counties, and schools. This was at a time where their previous budget was $13 billion. So the state took over the responsibility that was previously the responsibility of local government. And so it's not a surprise that local government isn't set up properly anymore. Local government had previously decided that it was in their best interest to have a 2 or 2.5% property tax rate to pay for the services. And the people in those localities could have voted for different council members to try to reduce their city or county budget and do that. But no, that was pushed on by the state and not local government, because local government has to balance their budget. And so when you say to a local government, hey, you can't charge more than 1% property tax, they're going to have problems. So I want to show you a chart. In the blue is counties with a low property tax, under 1.5%. And in the red is counties with a high property tax, above 1.5%. What you'll see on this chart, on the right are counties with higher price to income ratios, and on the left is lower price to income ratios. And on the y-axis, you'll see how many new homes are being built in those places. And what's crazy about this is places with price to income ratios of 10, where the house costs 10 years of a salary and they're still not building homes. How are they not building homes when they can pay workers 1/10 of the cost of the house itself? It seems like there's something going on there where they're not allowed to build houses, because on the red, you can see it starts reacting. On the right, those counties start reacting and saying, no, we're going to build more. We need to build more to meet demand because the home prices are too high. There's money to be made by building homes when the home prices go up. This is how capitalism works. When there's opportunity and prices are high, there's someone who comes in and says, hey, I can build you some homes. There's a lot of money to be made. So let's build some homes so the supply increases and the demand's met. And then the prices come back down a little bit. We see this even clearer with the largest counties. These ones are all counties with 1 million plus people in them. And you can see that the red counties react and the blue ones actually goes down. As the prices go up, they build less houses. So my point with this video is that there may be a group of people who's saying, oh, we just don't want any more houses. But we also have to look at the economics of it. We should incentivize people to want more housing, not less. And when people see that every time more housing is built, their schools get crowded, they don't build new schools, and it's just splitting up state subsidies and federal subsidies, and they're not actually paying their own bills, it's going to drive people to say, hey, we don't want more housing, which obviously creates a problem because you need more housing to house more people. So the solution counties and cities often come up with is, oh, dear developer, we'll let you build 1,000 new homes, but you have to build a school and pay for it. And so what they do is they divide that money for the school into those 1,000 homes and build a school with the price of the homes. The thing is, that increases the price of the homes. And so a lot of them don't build as many homes anymore. They just cancel the project because they're like, no one's going to pay another $50,000, $100,000 for these houses just to fund another school. That should be done through the taxes. The biggest irony of all this is that California often gets criticized for two things: being too liberal and houses costing too much. What I didn't tell you earlier is that Prop 13 was supported by Ronald Reagan as he was running for the White House after he had left office as the governor of California. He said that tax cuts created limited government. Of course, the state government didn't get smaller. The state government got bigger to account for this change in taxes. And home prices are often blamed on liberals, but the tax change may be the single greatest cause of California's housing crisis today. So this may serve as a warning to places like Texas, who currently actually have pretty high property tax rates, around 2%. But there's already talk and proposals to lower those because that sounds like a conservative solution to lower taxes in every way possible. But really, it pushes the costs somewhere else, either to state or federal government subsidies to pay for those services. So I don't know if I convinced you, but I think property taxes should be set at a reasonable rate. It seems like 2% is the point when it regulates the prices of houses and pays for the services that people need in those places. So hopefully this can add to the conversation around affordable housing, not just looking at NIMBYs and people who don't want houses for social reasons, but actually looking at the economics of it and looking and saying, hey, how do we align incentives? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Comment below if I convinced you that property taxes should be set at around 2%, or if you still want low property taxes and you don't care.